Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I guess it's about time for me to talk about the big-ass Nintendo Direct, which is more or less their big press conference going into the end of the year. So, just to kick things off, I'm kind of glad to see that Yoshiaki Koizumi is still kind of being the front man for Nintendo. It's about time he got his due in the spotlight, though. As much as I enjoy seeing, probably one of the best game directors of all time getting some limelight, it's also kind of worrying me because this guy needs to be back directing and writing games as well and not doing all this other business shilling. But whatever. So to start things off, they did everything. They front-loaded it with 3DS stuff first, which is totally fine. I get it. It's just mostly just regurgitation of information for me. They did show an actual in-depth look at Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I don't care, but I can see why it would be interesting for those who do, because they seem to show a lot of new shit. Again, mostly just sort of repeating stuff. You had Mario & Luigi remake. You had, I guess, Kirby Battle Royale was new, but I thought it was announced briefly a while back. Maybe I was just wrong. I think there's been a lot of like Kirby DLC stuff, and I think they took a bit from one of the original 3DS Kirby games, their battle mode, and they offered that as like a bite-sized download. And I guess Kirby Battle Royale is like something completely different now. So whatever, just it looks like the Sonic battle of the Kirby series to me. As far as Kirby's 25th anniversary, whatever. We all know that Kirby's sword ability is going to win that. Again, like sort of regurgitating information. Hey, there's a new version of Yokai Watch 2, Layton 7, yada yada. I think the only like really there were two really interesting things for the 3DS segment, and that was the Minecraft for Nintendo 3DS, although it only works on the new model of system. So I guess that brings us to a grand total of 2 physical cartridges releases that actually require the new 3DS. I think Binding of Isaac is a digital download that requires the new 3DS. But yeah, as far as that goes, I think now we have Xenoblade 1 and Minecraft as the only physically sold games. And again, and the funny thing is, this is so weird, is that I think they were going to offer the Minecraft edition now digitally, but they just gave a vague someday later for the physical release. Okay, and the other big thing was the Mario Party Top 100, which I don't know why other people haven't said it. Maybe they have and I have missed it, but I'm going to be that guy. And why the fuck is this not on consoles? And why the fuck isn't it online? It's, again, a pretty cool idea, but for the fucking 3DS? And I don't know if it's online, but it's seemingly not online? That seems stupid. But there you go. That's pretty much the 3DS stuff. Again, they had some Atlas RPG shit and Apollo Justice, Fire Emblems come to 3DS. We all know this stuff. Again, these all kind of seem to feel like this is just sort of the end of the 3DS's life cycle. Like it's not getting major support by Nintendo anymore. It's getting fun games, but not really heavy major first-party titles. Kirby is kind of neat, Battle Royale, whatever. But again, he's like, here's kind of like a battle mode Kirby game. Here's a remake of Mario & Luigi. Here's, a compilation of Mario Party games. Samus Returns is probably the most significant game on the 3DS to come out. Definitely this year and probably in a while. And it's not even home developed by Nintendo. It's actually outsourced to Mercury Steam. So, I mean, if it really wasn't for Metroid, I honestly would be like, yeah, they're just phasing it out. And I still think they are phasing out the 3DS, just slowly, because it is still a good seller. And it's not a bad system. I mean, the system is fucking amazing when you combine all the virtual console, download games, and just the physical library it has. It's a fucking great system. Like, if you haven't bought a 3DS at this point, like the new 2DS XL's I actually think it's a great system. Yeah, they're offering an orange version or whatever. Who cares? I think it's a great system to jump into if you've never had one, because it's got so much good stuff on it. And there is still some good games coming, but it definitely feels like it's winding down. And, as Switch being portable, it's going to just slowly take over, because, yeah, there's no reason for Nintendo to be having 2 portable systems on the market. Although, I'll say this, as someone who's recently had to travel by plane, I brought both 3DS and Switch along, and I used both of them, and it was really nice having both. But that's only because Switch doesn't have a lot of games right now. But anyways, moving on, I was kind of shocked that they gave such a long look immediately at Xenoblade 2 for their big Switch presentation of games. And I'm fine with it. I'm going to say this right now, Nintendo still has trouble advertising the game. Like, for people like me, I really enjoyed everything I saw for Xenoblade 2, but it strikes me as this was sort of reactionary to sort of Gamescom and E3, where they tried to do like a really long live stream, and people still didn't really get it. And like people who aren't familiar with the franchise really didn't get it or what's going on, so they tried to have this sort of narrated experience, like walk you through, almost like what Rockstar has done with some of its big open world game releases right before they come out. It didn't bother me. Like, some people were actually complaining about the voice acting, and I was like, I didn't really have a problem with it. Chalk it up to someone who went through the 90s and 90s anime dubs, and we all laughed at them back then, but it just really didn't strike me as really that bad, honestly. And I don't really particularly care one way or the other about the story or the voice acting of this game, so it's kind of like a toss-up for me anyways. Like, whatever, like, that's not important. What's important to me is the gameplay and the music, and everything looks fantastic from that. It's definitely got a more fantasy style going on. Obviously, like, it's dropping the sci-fi element hard. It actually kind of weirdly, vaguely reminds me of Titan Kaitos in a weird sort of way still. Not as good art style-wise, because I'm going to be on board with everyone else here. And yeah, the character designs kind of suck. The voice acting is a little questionable. It's my Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where, yeah, the character models are bad, and the voice acting is questionable, but goddamn, it looks really fun to play. They got a special edition coming out, which pretty much because of the soundtrack, I have to fucking get it. The Pro Controller is ugly as sin. I'll probably just buy a regular Pro Controller. So, I mean, that's really cool. I just like the fact that it's getting the support from Nintendo in the form of Special Edition and Pro Controller. I think that's really cool. And to top it all off, and you know what you all been waiting for, probably from me, is it's coming out December 1st, which is this year. Yes, this year, not 2018. And I mean, hey, you know, eat crow, haters be damned, whatever. It actually made it out this year. I didn't think it was. No one really did when they first announced it, but here we are. Wouldn't it be nice, you know, if you know, you could get a nice big giant JRPG announced and released within a year and not have to wait, and on top of that, to have it come out within like 2 years of the last major giant RPG from the same franchise. Boy, what would that feel like? You know, what would it feel like if Square Enix could actually fucking release a game even within 3 years, let alone 5 or 8 or 10. Imagine that. Imagine if Square Enix announced a game 2 years ago and it was actually coming out in like 2 months like this game. Man, wouldn't that be fucking great if you were still a Square Enix fan for whatever the fuck reason? Gosh, boy, I sure do love Monolith Soft. Okay, so moving on from that, there's you know, Splatoon updates. I don't care. Fire Emblem Warriors, Lynn's in it, which is really cool. I'm glad to see that we're not having this wank fest to Tharja and Camilla or whatever the Titicaca character was from the newest game. I don't really follow Fire Emblem. It went way off the deep end anime for me, and I just don't have time for strategy RPGs. I'm sure Fates and Awakening were great games. I just have no fucking time for them. And you know, even though I really don't care about fucking petting characters, I still think it was stupid how Nintendo sort of pandered and protected people, pandered to soccer moms and protected innocent youths from the awful thing of patting a chick on the head. But whatever. That's really all in the past. As far as Fire Emblem Warriors goes, it's a Warriors game, so I really doubly don't care. I'm sure lots of people do, just I'm not there with you. I don't really care about snipper clips. As far as Morphe's Law go, this looks like something that is going to flop horrendously, but was pitched and sold really hard to Nintendo because I'm sure NCL thought it was really creative to have these growing body parts things in a shooter. It might actually be a really fun game. It's just something that will not, especially as a Switch exclusive in this genre, in this market, it's going to just die miserably. But you know, it's something that I can absolutely see people at Nintendo NCL going like, oh, what an interesting, unique idea. You should fully develop that, because everything I've ever heard from people who've worked with NCL is that they're really fucking big on gameplay hooks, little quirks and hooks, a new idea like that really hooks you in, and like you want to really expand on this one tiny little thing, and they probably saw that idea when, oh, what a unique thing, please make lots of it, whatever. Rocket League's coming, yes, yeah. Arena of Valor is something that's probably going to mean very, very little to the general console gamer, but this is a fucking enormous game. It's almost equivalent to PUBG getting Xbox One exclusivity, but I think this will have a tougher time, a bigger uphill battle, just because the MOBA's so entrenched in the PC and mobile arena that it's coming from, that I don't really see anybody on Switch really giving a shit, but whatever. And if, you know, following up with that, we actually got a lot of love from Bethesda. Before I mentioned Skyrim, I don't care. Here's something I do care about. Doom is coming to the Switch, which is fucking awesome. Best game that came out last year. And then on top of that, they're going to port Wolfenstein 2, not 1, but 2, to the Switch next year. And the interesting thing about this is, this shows me that id Tech 6 is running on the Switch, which it's such a huge, smooth, scalable engine. I'm a little surprised it's doing it. I hope there's no compromise as far as frame rate goes. But it looks to me like, well, they can get some low-end running model of id Tech 6 running on Switch, but there's no Evil Within 2, which again worries me again, because I don't know if we've ever heard officially if Evil Within 2 is id Tech 6. I really hope it is, but I'm starting to doubt it now. But you know, especially with these two games being both specifically id Tech 6 games, really worrying. Flip Wars, don't care about that. Arcade Archives is sort of like Nintendo's feeble, tiny, small penis olive branch to Virtual Console on the Switch, which is they're going to start offering their little multiplayer versions of their ancient arcade games. It's not enough. It's cool, but holy fuck, Nintendo. Like, I guess you gotta sell them SNES and NES classics, because Jesus fuck, why is there no Virtual Console on Switch? Moving along, there's, you know, here's something I want to, like, actually question. Where the fuck was the Breath of the Wild DLC? Like, that's really odd that they talked about the amiibos, but not the DLC that's still supposed to be this year? I don't know. A bunch of sports titles were then shown off in quick succession, and then a fucking enormous, or what felt like a forever length look at Project Octopath Traveler, which is, okay, that's cool. We haven't heard or seen anything of it since the January Direct or January press conference. So that's neat, and I think the real shocker was that there's a fucking demo up for it already. I just, you know, I think it looks cool, but I've always kind of not felt really good about games that have 2D sprites on 3D backgrounds. I've never really liked the style. It's a beautiful looking game, but it's always kind of like, I've never really jived well with the 2D on 3D. I always prefer it to go one way or the other. It feels have this weird like paper cutout look. I don't know. There's just something about 2.5D or 2D assets on 3D backgrounds that I just never really got into. It feels quirky and cute, but it doesn't feel like I don't know. There's something like almost unfinished about it. I don't know. Maybe it's just from seeing games in development at early stages where they have like basically like placeholder sprites and stuff sometimes. I don't know. Something about it just never really jived with me. They showed more stuff on ARMS version 3, which customized controls. That's the best thing about it. Dragon Quest Builders, yada yada, who cares? They gave a name. I don't think they had a name at E3 for the Kirby game on Switch, which is Kirby Star Allies, which looks like, again, more just chill fun. It looks like more classic Kirby. Really down for that. I'm sure I'll be picking that one up come early next year. So you can kind of see how they're slowly starting to build their early next year portfolio. Because you got Kirby Star Allies, you got like Lost Sphere. I think Octopath was sometime next year. I don't think they gave a date, which means like later half. And then of course you have the other third party. Here's the thing I don't get. So they showed like, hey, Sonic Forces, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, LA Noire coming out on the Switch this fall. They didn't mention Rhyme, which is real fucking unfortunate because gameplay that was coming out of PAX actually made the game look like they got it up and running pretty damn well on the Switch, which is a huge accomplishment because the game was not a very awesomely optimized game for the Unreal 4 engine, but it's my game of the year so far, and it's kind of sad that it's actually getting a Switch release in November, and we still haven't, we didn't get any fucking shout-outs to it in this Direct, so I'm a little bummed about that. So I'm just going to point it out now. Guys, if you haven't bought Rhyme because you were waiting for the Switch version, please check it out, because I'm actually shocked that it's turning out as well as it is. So get Rhyme on the Switch in November, and fuck Sonic Forces, and fuck LA Noire. Fuck that game. That game, God, that game hurt me like Assassin's Creed 3 hurt me. I really wanted to like that game, but fuck. And then to wrap it all up, of course, was Koizumi's big baby. Actually, that sounds bad. Super Mario Odyssey. And I almost feel like we're seeing way too fucking much of this game at this point. They say there's still more stuff they haven't shown, but whatever. I'm not a huge stickler for spoilers, so it doesn't bother me too much, but I am at this point kind of like, okay, I'm sick of looking at Mario Odyssey. I want to just play the game now. And it looks fantastic, and I'm sure it'll be fantastic. I'm sure it'll have a little bit more depth and heart to its basic Mario storytelling than the other Mario games, because again, this is a Koizumi-produced title. Sadly not directed or written by, but everything looks fucking awesome, except the Cold Kingdom. The Snow Kingdom looks kind of shit to me. It's just as far as like graphics-wise and everything goes right now, it just kind of looks kind of bleh. But everything else looked great. The Seaside Kingdom looked fucking great. And I think to wrap it all up, the last fucking thing they talked about in this conference to me that was interesting is that they're making a Super Mario Odyssey Switch bundle, which to me just comes off like a giant fuck you to Microsoft and the Xbox One X. I know it's probably not, and that's probably just me looking way too far into it, but I mean, the Switch is having no problem selling off the shelves already, and then they're gonna bundle it with fucking Mario Odyssey. Now, the bundle's not really, it's not offering you any price advantage. It's $380, which is exactly what it would cost to buy a Switch, Mario Odyssey, and a carrying case, which is what comes inside it, but to me, it's still just like, oh, here's this little all-in-one thing. Hey, here's your Xbox One X. Oh, what's that, Microsoft? You couldn't get your flagship title out for it? Oh, Crackdown 3 got delayed? Our game's not delayed. In fact, it comes with the Switch. You know, fuck you, Microsoft. That's just the way it comes off to me. Like, there was no reason to make a Mario Odyssey bundle other than just sort of like to say fuck you to the other companies. And then on top of it, and the reason I say it's kind of a fuck you again is because they're not offering any price advantage to it. There is no advantage to buying a Switch Mario Odyssey bundle because it's the same fucking price otherwise. You get two red Joy-Cons left and right, but what would you do? So, I mean, good on Nintendo. Competition is good. You know, Xbox is still going around. We've got so many pre-orders. We got more than you. And I'm just like, who the fuck's buying this? Whatever. I do like the competition here, though. I do like the angle here, and even though Nintendo has no first-party Switch games, they're technically publishing Skyrim in November. Their November is packed, and then December 1st we get Xenoblade 2 to wrap up the year. My most anticipated title, next to Mario Odyssey, and again, you poor fucking beaten and berated Square Enix fans. Don't you fucking wish your company could be as competent at making video games as Nintendo and Monolith Soft? Well, that's all I got to say about impressions about the Nintendo Direct. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the channel later, dudes.